Welcome to another video regarding latest news updates. So over the last couple of weeks, we got some news regarding international students. So in this video, we are going to talk about information regarding the latest COVID-19 pandemic payment. Also, there has been an approval for a South Australian quarantine program and updates on New South Wales and Victorian government plans to bring international students. So without further wasting any time, let's dive in straight to the news. So the first news that impact international students is regarding COVID-19 relief payments. So on 3rd of June, Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced COVID-19 temporary relief payments for people who have been impacted because of the snap lockdowns in their state or territories. As most of you might be aware already that Victoria is currently in a lockdown, and this lockdown has been extended for another 7 days after it was planned for the first 7 days only, especially the Metro Melbourne area. So in these sort of circumstances where the states and territories go and do a snap lockdown to control the spread of the COVID-19 virus, and obviously many employees losing their work hours because of the businesses shutting down, the federal government has decided to help and support these people who will do tough during these lockdowns. So the idea behind here is to help these casual or part-time employees who normally work but lose the hours because of these lockdowns, and these payments will only come into place after the first 7 days of the lockdown. So you can't claim the money for the first 7 days in a lockdown. And it doesn't only apply to Victoria, it can be anywhere around Australia, even if in the future there is a snap lockdown that goes beyond 7 days. So the next question could be how much money will be paid. So if you work more than 20 hours per week, you will get $500 per week for the time the lockdown is extended. And if you work less than 20 hours, you will get paid $325 per week. Obviously, there are some requirements that you need to meet in order to qualify for this payment. So let's discuss about some of those eligibility requirements. The first thing first, you must be aged 17 or above. So if you are under 17, you can't claim this payment. So the second requirement is that you must be living or working in an area which is declared as a hotspot by the Commonwealth government. You also have to self-declare that you have less than $10,000 in liquid assets, which is basically your saving and the money that you can easily access. And you also have to declare that you don't have access to special pandemic leave or any other sick leave, or if you do have one, you have already used it up. And to be eligible, you should not be receiving any pandemic payments or income support. And you also have to show that you would have normally worked in those hours where the lockdown was imposed and you have lost your income because of these lockdowns. And last but not least, you must be an Australian citizen, resident, or any visa holder who has work rights in Australia. And that is very important for international students to know about, as international students do have working rights in Australia. So as an international student, you can apply for this payment if you meet the eligibility requirements. So that's really a positive news, considering many international students would lose their work hours because of the lockdowns in their local states or territories. So the next question could be how to apply for this payment. Now the application will be open from 8th of June 2021, and you can apply via online on Services Australia website, or you can apply by calling them, and the payments will be made directly into your bank account. So that was big news this week, considering many people would have lost their work hours due to these lockdowns. Especially people in Victoria are doing it tough because they have gone through more than 140 days of lockdown in the last year or so. So that was a much needed support for the people. So the next news is regarding South Australia's quarantine program for international students. So South Australia's Chief Health Officer and the state government has approved a plan to bring international students to South Australia. So the plan is to bring around 160 students at a time and quarantine them in a special facility at Parafield Airport. It is being reported that this facility is different than the many Medi hotels where the returning Australians do their quarantine. So this number of international students who might be returning back to South Australia is in addition to the number of Australian residents coming back. So it should not affect the returning Australians quarantine program. And it is also unsure that who will be paying for these 2 weeks of quarantine cost in South Australian airport. As reported by 9 News, it could cost around $9,000 to do a quarantine in this facility, and it is unsure at the moment who will be sharing the cost of this quarantine program. And now it has already been sent to the federal government for the final approvals. Now, there was a previous plan of bringing international students back in South Australia that got cancelled because of increase in COVID-19 cases back last year in Adelaide. So it will be interesting to see when this plan actually go ahead, because many previous pilot programs were not implemented. Some students are obviously not sure if this plan will go ahead as well. So we'll have to wait and watch how does this goes and if this plan gets an approval from the federal government. And we would love to hear about your thoughts on this South Australian quarantine program as well. Please let us know in the comment section below. And last but not the least is New South Wales and Victorian government plans for bringing international students. So let's talk about Victoria first. Unfortunately, because of increase in COVID-19 cases, Victoria had to do a snap lockdown. Now that snap lockdown has been extended for another 7 days for the Melbourne metro area. So at the moment, the priority for the Victorian government is to make sure that this spread of virus is contained, so the people in Victoria and in Melbourne can go back to a bit of normality in their life. So we're not sure when that plan for bringing international students back to Victoria will go ahead, considering the situation in Victoria at the moment. Now, in regards to New South Wales, as it has been recently reported that government has actually not decided on this quarantine purpose-built accommodation yet, which means that the New South Wales government is still have to make a decision to choose which accommodation provider they will go ahead for doing international student quarantine. There is one 24-story building that is under construction and is supposed to finish in the next few weeks, and that is most likely to be the building that they will choose for this quarantine hub. Obviously, there are some other proposals from other student accommodation providers as well, which apparently has not been finalized yet. So a report has been issued where it says that New South Wales government has not sent their final proposal to the federal government as yet, which is a bit surprising, as in the previous reports or in the news outlets it was reported that they have already finalized and sent this plan to the federal government. But the recent report that came out says otherwise. So we'll still have to wait to get further updates on this New South Wales quarantine program as well. Well, I hope you find some value in this video where we discuss all the latest news regarding international education in Australia. And as always, if you do, please make sure to share it with your friends as well. And if you can, I'll appreciate if you can smash that like button as well, as it helps us to reach more people who could find this information useful. And as always, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.